So we had reached to this level that we said the things we keep inside of us, the parts of us which is hidden to us, affects our life. And then we talked about how this even sometimes affects the relationship we have. For example, when we feel in love with someone, why does that happen? We said the reason is that this person, it just happens that at that moment, they're not triggering any things that we had kept in our landmine, right? So, for example, they didn't say anything which reminded us of a bad memory. They didn't talk in a way that we don't like. If, for example, we were at a restaurant, they didn't chew even in a way that would remind us of something that we don't like, right? And as a result of that, the hidden part of us, the part where we keep the things we don't like, the things that makes us insecure, wasn't triggered. So we didn't feel any negative energy, we didn't feel that, and we felt so good next to this person. But unfortunately, I said, as we started to live with that person a little bit more, they eventually stepped on one of the things we had. They eventually started triggering us, and we thought our love is over. We thought it has ended, right? Because this person finally did something in a way that triggered something in me. Maybe they brushed their teeth in a way that reminded me of something I don't like. Maybe the way they drink their tea. Maybe the way they eat. Maybe they're talking and eating and it reminded me of something that, finally they did something which I didn't like. Okay. Now, I hope I have managed to convince you that if we want to continue with our life, allowing these things to take control of our life, it's not going to be nice. We may lose friends. We may not feel in love with our partners anymore, right? We may feel negative energy when we're with them, and we may even hate it, It's not like we enjoy it, but we feel like there's no other way. Do you know how many people, they're in a relationship and they feel that the partner does something which really annoys them and they don't like it even, but they can't help it. What they know is that they can actually help it, right? How do you help it? By instead of trying to listen to these and change the world around you or change the people, by going down and healing them, going down and fixing them. Now, before I talk about how we can fix it, I want to say what happens when you fix it and how is this relevant to God. When you slowly try and remove these, the things you've kept in the hidden part, the bad memories, the wounds, all the times you've been hurt, right? When you slowly try to heal them, what happens is that you feel a great amount of energy. It's very interesting. Right? Before trying to heal that, you were with a friend, and you couldn't even enjoy their friendship, right? Maybe, for example, they said something, and as they're talking all the time, you're thinking about other things, right? Pay attention to the next time you're talking to a friend, you're talking to someone. Isn't it true that as they're talking, your mind keeps saying things? There's a voice in your head. So at the same time, you're listening to that person, but also to your mind. Check it the next time you're talking to someone. Maybe they're talking about, for example, this happened to me at work. I had, for example, a good thing happen to me at work. But that triggers the stress you had about your own work. So they're talking, but the stress you have of your own work keeps sending thoughts. Oh, what about my work? I need to do this. I need to do that. Right? Or maybe your friend says, by the way, yesterday I prayed and I felt so spiritual. And all you're feeling, oh, damn it, why don't I ever feel spiritual in my prayer? So all these thoughts come and they don't even allow you to really talk to a friend. Your friend is there, but you're not there, right? Of course, probably your friend is also not fully there either, right? Every person is living in their mind. So many thoughts, so many emotions. And that's why you don't even feel like the discussion is that nice. And after a while, we get so bored of talking to each other that we go on our phone. Why? Because we're not really connecting to each other. Because at the same time that they're talking, so much is coming up in my mind, right? You know, it's very crazy, even between siblings, between friends. We even hear a good news from our friend, but it triggers us. He may say that, you know what, this year, for example, I had the resolution to call my grandparents more. And instead of saying, oh, I'm so happy for you, that's such a beautiful idea, all it reminds us of the guilt we have kept here of maybe I'm not doing enough for grandma, right? So it triggers the guilt. So the friend tells you, I'm doing this for my grandmother, and you can't enjoy that moment. You can't be there for them because your guilt is now triggered and it keeps sending thoughts. Oh, damn it, should I call grandma? Or maybe grandma's passed away, I haven't done enough for her, etc., etc. So we're not there for them. But what happens when you go down and heal these things? When you heal the guilt you have, when you heal, for example, the fear, the anxiety, the insecurity, when you heal all of this, then you're talking to your friend, they talk, and there's nothing there to be triggered. So they're talking and all you're hearing is what they're saying. No more thoughts in your mind, no more the voice telling you, no more anxieties or guilt or fears being triggered. So you can fully listen to them. And it feels so nice. It's crazy. When you become that way, you realize that even people who you thought you don't have anything in common, even people that maybe you call boring or from another generation, they become so interesting. Right? I always say an example that one summer, after a very difficult time in my life where I had to let go of so many things, I went back to my country, and then I had to live with one of my relatives. And before that, we really didn't have much in common. You know, he was 40 years older than me. But that time, I was after a time in my life where I had been, you know, I had got rid of so many of my garbage. You know, by the way, one time after which a lot of people get rid of the things is after a very difficult time. They go down and they heal a lot. So for the first time, I didn't have much garbage, and I was like, we connected so much. It was unbelievable. I was like, I never thought I'd have anything in common with this person who's 40 years older than me. But we bonded so much because when he was talking, it was two souls connecting. It wasn't two minds just, you know, listening to themselves, right? No thoughts were coming. He was talking and I just felt like, wow, a soul is talking to my soul. You know, real connection. And it was unbelievable, unbelievable. And that's why, you know, we can connect to every single person, but our mind is just not allowing it. And this is one of the things you realize as you go down and try to heal this garbage, right? That love is so much easier, so much more achievable, right? You, for example, wanted to get close to your friend, to your partner, to your loved one. You said, you know what, let me get rid of my garbage so that I can feel their love anymore. But suddenly you realize that you can feel love from everyone, right? You can connect to everyone much better. You know, your siblings become so fun to talk to. Your cousins, your uncle. It's just, you realize that maybe the reason why I couldn't connect, the reason why I couldn't feel love so much was all these things I had inside me. They were blocking the energy of love, right? And if you remember last session, I recited for you this line attributed to Rumi, that instead of going out and looking for love, instead or remove all the barriers you've made inside yourself against love, right? It's very beautiful. The reason we sometimes don't feel love is that we have so many things inside us which stop us from feeling the love that is coming towards us. Because we have so many things that people have to avoid in order to get their energy to us. They may want to even show love to us, but the way they speak, the things they say, triggers so much in us that it doesn't allow their love to reach us. Right? Especially sometimes between siblings and their parents. You know, two generations, they speak two different languages, and the chances of they talking in a way which triggers something in us is so high. Now, Rumi says, remove all these things you have, the barriers you've made inside yourself against love, and you would feel love. You don't need to go looking for it. Now, this is where it gets, the discussion is linked to God. When you go down to this deeper level and try to heal it, right? Something interesting happens. You notice a sense of connection coming from deep down, a sense of love. Not love from others, even though you feel others love much more. But even when no one's around, you feel from inside of yourself a sense of love and connection comes, right? And then you realize that you have a layer which is even deeper than this, right? So if this was the level of your experience, this was the level hidden to you where all the insecurities are, you realize that even underneath that there is a level. And that is where in your nafs you are connected to God. So once a person starts removing these garbages and these wounds and these traumas, these things that they've been hurt, once they start to remove this, they start receiving the energy from God, which has always been there, but it would always come, get stuck here, right? Of course, it still would try to come up, but there were so many other things here which wouldn't allow it to come all the way to us, right? Once you get rid of all these things, the energy from God, which is at the deepest level of us, at the core of who we are, right? Imagine if your nafs is a circle. Imagine if your nafs is a circle, you experience only the outer layer. Then we said a little bit inside the circle, there are all the hidden things, the wounds. Once you get rid of that, the energy from center comes, and the center is God. The center is your connection to your God. So from the deepest place inside you, you are connected to God. And this is why the Quran says that whoever forgets themselves will forget God. Right? It's in the Quran. Whoever forgets themselves, whoever doesn't go deep enough in themselves, they will forget God, because this is the way to God. Or why that hadith says, "Man arafa nafsah faqad arafa rabbah." Whoever goes deep enough inside themselves, they will know God. Man arafa nafsah faqad arafa rabbah. Go deep enough inside yourself, remove the wounds, remove the garbage, remove the hurts, heal yourself, go deep inside, and you will find God. Man arafa nafsah faqad arafa rabbah. The one who knows himself or herself knows God. And then this is what Imam Sajjad is talking about. At the core of who we are connected to God. And God's love and God's energy is always coming to us, right? And ask the Urafa, ask the Imams. In their du'as they tell us. They say they're sitting there and they feel in so much love and connection. They say it's undescribable, right? It's ineffable. Allama Tabatabai, I just told you in the beginning of the live session, he says, I wish people could experience what the Arif goes through. The person who's connected to the deepest level of themselves, and from there they allow God's love to come to them. Now, this is how we can connect this to temptations, and also how that feels. You know, when temptations come, what happens, it actually is that we mistake something for that feeling that comes from God, right? Because where are temptations, where is the place for temptations? The place for temptations is in this level. Where is God? God is here. So sometimes an energy comes from God, but because we have these things here which we haven't fixed, right? We feel that energy through a temptation, and we feel that if I now act upon this temptation, everything is going to be perfect, right? I don't know what kind of temptation you're dealing with. Every person is dealing with some sorts of temptations, right? None of us is perfect. When, the moment when temptation starts to take its grip over you, control you, it could be, I don't know, anger. It could be, for example, for someone overeating. For someone, it could be a sexual desire. Whatever it is, right? Whatever addiction maybe a person may have. At the moment where the temptation comes, this is why in the Quran, God refers to temptations as deceptions. Why? Because it tells you this, it sends this message to you that, you know what, if you act upon me, you will have access to that energy, that unending, infinite energy, right? Doesn't it feel that way? Next time, when you are tempted, sit with it for 1 second and see how do you feel. Don't you feel that if you don't do this thing, you will never be happy again? Don't you feel that you must do this to be happy, right? With a temptation, with something that you've been dealing for, especially if it's an addiction, right? I don't know, it could be overeating, it could be, I don't know, whatever it is. Sit with it the next time it comes and see how do you feel. It usually feels like, if I don't do this, I'll never be happy. I have to do it, right? And the interesting thing is, usually as soon as you do it, as soon as you're satisfied, for example, you had to eat. As soon as you overeat, or as soon as you express your anger, or if it's a sexual desire, as soon as you act upon it, immediately it cools down, it goes. A moment ago, it felt like it's the most important thing in the whole world. Like if you don't do it, you'll never be happy again, right? Sometimes insecurities are like that as well. You know what? For example, you're insecure about your weight or your height. The message it sends you is that if I'm not tall, if I don't have the perfect body, if I'm not slim, I will never be happy. I will never be happy. I have to be slim, or I have to be told to be happy. This has to happen. I have to be like that, right? Why does Quran refer to all of these as deception? Because they are talking about something which has nothing to do with them. The only thing which has to happen for us to be happy, the only thing without which we can never be happy, is that deep energy of love which comes from within, right? It's only that. That's the only thing you need to be happy. And the Urafa tell us that's the way. Imam Sajjad tells us that's the way. Ma atyaba ta'ama hubba. How delicious is the taste of your love. To go to the deepest levels of yourself and have that love always coming. Have that connection. To be in a state in which you don't need to change anything about the external world to feel at peace, to feel at home, where there's no fear, nothing can scare you, nothing can cause stress. That's only God. But once we haven't healed ourselves, this energy from God comes, and then there is this addiction I have. For example, I am overeating. I have a sexual addiction. That energy comes from God. This temptation wraps itself around it and comes up. It says, you know what? You'll never be happy. You'll never be at home unless you are, for example, tall, unless you do this sexual thing, unless you eat. Right? That's why Quran says these temptations are deception. Right? They're claiming things which are not theirs. They're promising things which are not theirs. Right? How many times did we act according to a temptation and we didn't feel at peace afterwards? Maybe for a short while, but in long term it felt terrible again. Right? We acted according to our wildest temptation, to our wildest fantasies. We were happy for a few minutes, but it lost its impact. Right? And temptations don't always have to be fantasies, don't always have to be haram. Maybe it's, for example, buying the new phone, right? Maybe this energy that comes from within you, this sense of peace and love, and maybe it comes from inside you, and maybe it gets wrapped around a material belonging, right? So having then this phone, having this dress, looking this way, none of these are haram. But the only mistake is to think that their claim to give us this infinite happiness is true. It's not. That energy is not theirs. They're just deceiving us. The only thing which has that power to take all our problems away, to give us unconditional love and peace, get rid of all our insecurities, is to connect to God, right? But unfortunately, as I said, as long as we haven't healed these, this energy comes, and every single time it comes to us through a different way. Once I feel like I have to be in love with this person to feel finally happy. The energy was from God. You felt it. You felt it inside you that there's an energy that if you have, you will finally be happy, right? You felt it, didn't you? You felt it. If I have this, I'll be happy. I need this to be happy. That energy was coming from God. But what happened is that halfway through, it got deceived. It got distorted. Something else wrapped itself around it and came to you. So once you thought I have to be in love with this person, once you thought I have to have this job, I have to get this degree, I have to buy this, I have to act according to this temptation, and then I will fully be happy. But all of them were promising wrong things. They were faking it, right? And this is why now Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen means, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen means praise is due to God. What does that mean? It means that every single time in your life where something was nice, it promised you that I will give you full happiness, Alhamdulillah, the energy was coming from God. The energy was coming from deep inside you, right? That's what Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen means. Every single time in your life where something gave you energy, where something made you happy, where you liked something, the energy was coming from God, from deep inside you. And again, don't think that you and God are disconnected. When I say God, I mean deep from inside you. You are connected to God, right? You know that beautiful poem, أتزعم أنك جرم صغير وفيك انطوى العالم الأكبر. Do you think you're a small mass while within you is the greatest universe? It is within you that you're connected to God. You're a rope that if you go towards the end of, you will reach God. It's through the deepest levels of your nafs that you are connected to God. And that's what Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen means. Everything, every great pleasure you had, everything you liked in this world, it wasn't that thing outside. The energy was coming from inside you. That thing just wrapped itself around it, right? The energy comes from within. So if you remove all of this, you go to the source, you get connected to who you really are, and as a result of that, you get connected to God. Man arafa nafsah faqad arafa rabbah. You will have that positive energy the whole time. You will have that happiness the whole time. Life will be great, and you don't need to be taller, you don't need to be slimmer, you don't need to have anything. You're perfect as you are, you're good as you are. You just need to heal yourself, and then all of this you would feel, right? And then you allow God's love to do the work of healing. It's beautiful. Imam Sajjad told God, Ilahi kasri la yajburuhu illa atfak. God, I've come to the source of all positive energy. I've come to you, to the source of all healing. I finally admit that any positive energy that came to me was through inside me, was through the core of myself, the ground of my being, right? That's why some Urafa call God the ground of our being. When you go to the ground of who you are, to the core of who you are, that's where you meet God. Allama Tabatabai said it's impossible to meet God anywhere other than your own nafs. You go deep, you get connected to God, right? And then that positive energy comes, that incredible unconditional love. And it is then that you feel, you know, it's very difficult maybe for a person to imagine it. But if I want to try and explain how it would feel, it feels like every single thing you wanted ever in life and want right now and will want in future, you have reached all of them at once. This is how it would feel, right? That's why I said forget about this, forget about punishment. No, you need God. God, to go towards God is to go towards yourself, right? That's why I said forget about heaven. There's much more at stake. There's your own nafs, yourself. There's getting connected to God in a way in which you would feel every single thing you ever wanted, you have it, and more. You know why? I have proof. Because what happened when you felt like you want something and energy was coming within you, that thing wrapped itself around it. So anytime you wanted something, you wanted that energy. You wanted how it made you feel. You wanted how it made you feel at home, connected, enough. It's that which you wanted. These were just a wrapping around it. So in expressing anything ever that you desired, you were actually expressing your desire for the energy that was inside it. And that is God. That energy comes from within you. Right? So when I say once you get connected to the core of yourself, to God, it's as if at one point having everything you wished for, because all of the things you wished for, and even right now you wish for, you're actually wanting that energy. That thing is just wrapping around it. Right? So this is why in the Quran it says in heaven they will get whatever they want. And don't you think that, for example, they will go to heaven and they will get a nice car or this and that? I mean, if they want, I don't know. But in heaven, you will realize that the reason you even loved the nice car was the energy that was inside it, that this car was deceiving you, thinking it comes from the car. No, it was coming from something inside it. So actually what you wanted wasn't the car, was the energy inside it. And how do you know that? Because here, if you buy the car, after a few weeks or a few months, it'll stop giving you the same energy. You'll get used to it. You won't feel the energy from it anymore. Right? So in the Quran it says, in heaven there is whatever you wanted, because the only thing we ever want is to get connected to the deepest part of who we are and get connected to that energy, get connected to God. And this is what it means to have a relationship with God. This is what it means to get close to God. To get close to God is to journey inside yourself, go to the core of who you are. Do not allow the bad memories you have, the insecurities you have, the times you were hurt, the times someone bullied you. Do not allow that to make decisions for you. Do not allow your addictions, your temptations to change your life, to make you do things. Do not allow your happiness, your joy, your sense of being enough, your sense of connection to be dependent upon things that you should have in the external world, things you should own. People have to be in my life. People have to be in this way in my life. They have to treat me in this way. You don't need any of that, right? The love comes from within. All you need to do is to get connected to yourself, right? And so this is why, inshallah, we need to get close to God. We need to go through ourselves, get close to God, because this is all we want. This is all we ever wanted. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Anything we ever wanted in our life, we were wanting for God. We were wanting ourselves, right? In other words, our connection with God was the beloved that we ever had, right? And once we get there, we become so rich in love. We become so rich in feeling connected that our relationship with others wouldn't also be from a place of need. So I wouldn't, for example, tell my wife or my partner that I'll only love you if you behave a certain way or if you look a certain way. Right? My love for others would be also unconditional, because I am satisfied with God. And so when I love others, I can give them unconditionally too, right? Hurt me. You can't hurt me. Swear at me. Be not nice to me. Do whatever you want to me. I am connected here. I'm getting all this relationship with God, all this positive energy I'm getting. So no one can hurt me. No one can harm me. Do whatever you want to me. I'm just going to give you love because I'm satisfied. I'm here. I've got all I want. I've got all I want. And so my relationship with you is just to show love, because love is beautiful. I want to share it. So no matter how much you hurt me, I'm going to give back, right? And it's very beautiful. It's then that you realize why our spiritual teachers used to tell us that no one can actually truly harm you. They can harm your body, right? but they cannot harm you. If you find this connection deep inside yourself, if you manage to connect yourself to the ground of who you are, get connected to God, you'll always have this connection with God. No matter what happens to your body, no matter what happens around you, you are always, you always have that. And now, doesn't it make sense why Lady Zainab on the day of, about the day of Ashura said, "Ma ra'aytu illa jamila"? I didn't see anything other than beauty. Why? Because inside her you have to see what was happening. You have to see what kind of relationship Lady Zainab and Imam Hussein were having with God. Right? Then you see why Shamr and Yazid could never harm them. They could harm their bodies. But Lady Zainab says, "Ma ra'aytu illa jamila." From the place they were, which is inside themselves, with that great connection with God, of course, all they received was God's unconditional love, that beautiful relationship with God. And she says, yes, you harmed our body, and that was a very bad thing you did. But do you know where we are? We are at this place. We are at home. We are at the core of ourselves. We're at the ground of our being, and we're with God. And all here it is positive energies, unconditional love. It's beauty. It's all one could ever wish for. It's unity. Right? So, ma ra'aytu illa jamila.